So I posted the Beto O'Rourke video, which, we covered Beto O'Rourke, not this past Music Monday, but the Music Monday before. And we talked about how he used to be a big punk rocker, and I pointed out the fact that it's weird he's as centrist as he is, considering his music background. And I'm really hoping he reclaims those roots and kind of goes a little further to the left. And, I thought we did a pretty fair assessment. We talked about how he is certainly a better option than Ted Cruz, obviously. So I understand how some people, in this case, you kind of just want to take what you can get. He's built up a lot of momentum. Who knows the next time someone might be able to do that against Ted Cruz. I understand. But I also don't see the value in trying to pretend that any candidate, not just him, but any candidate in general, is something they're not. I don't see what the point in doing that is. So I pointed out a few things about him, and I've gotten some of the typical responses, and some of them are totally fair. Some of them I don't understand, and here's why I wanted to bring this up as a question. And I'm not trying to single out Beto O'Rourke. This can apply to any candidate, and it has. I'm just using this as a for-instance example. So here's how progressives are shit on twice, okay? First, people go, look, your ideas can't win, so somebody needs to be more to the center, because if they're too far left like you guys, they can't win. So your ideas can't win. So, sorry, but your ideas can't win. And then on the same hand, the same people that entertain that theory, they also say to us, hey, now's not the time to point out that this candidate hasn't adopted the policies you like. Now's not the time to point out the flaws with this candidate. Well, what do you mean by that? Like how is that not... So when's the time? After the election? We're on the campaign trail, we're not supposed to talk about candidates. We're supposed to wait until afterwards. On what planet does that make sense? First of all. Second of all, so what is the theme here? Is the theme, hey, your ideas can't win, but also your ideas are really popular, so if you don't just support this candidate and not tell the truth about them, everything's your fault. It can't be both ways. Either progressives matter or they don't. It can't be both ways. It can't be... You're too much of a fringe minority politically, so your ideas can't win. Oh, by the way, your ideas are really popular, so don't point out the fact that this candidate isn't on board with all of them, because if they don't win, then it's all your fault. It can't be both ways. It's got to be one or the other. Either we matter or we don't. And if it's the latter, and progressives do matter, and progressive policies are the policies that a candidate needs to adopt to win, well then, if a candidate doesn't adopt those policies, it's their fault, not the fault of the person who points it out. I know that's a crazy concept. I know that the natural inclination is surely a comedian on Twitter has the power to bring down any political candidates. Especially one that has already built up a celebrity around themselves and has appeared on all the late-night talk shows. I mean, a comedian on Twitter who, for the record, can't get on those damn shows himself can surely bring down. So I don't... Which one is it? Which one is it? I guess that's my question. Do we matter or do we not? And what does it mean to say, now is not the time? Like what does that mean? Now's not the time. We're in the middle of an election. Now is not the time to talk about the candidates in it. Did that make sense to anyone here? If it did, explain it to me. Please, explain it to me. Guys, now's not the time. Now is not the time. I have a feeling everybody on the stream has heard that from somebody. Now's not the time. What is it? What do you say? When's the time? When after they get elected? What the fuck? So guys, when's the time? When are we allowed to talk about candidates? When are we... Because, I mean, I do a show that's topical, And I'm just curious, when's the time? Can someone let me know? I don't want to hijack any campaigns. All right, let me see what you guys are saying. Let's see. The theme is progressives don't matter. They just want to have their cake and eat it too. They are mad they can't trick us into voting for them. They should sell Beto as he is. Joseph says this. They should sell Beto as he is. He is better than Ted Cruz. He isn't all that progressive, though. He is a Dem with some progressive rhetoric, but don't push him down our throats as a progressive. That sounds totally fair, Joseph. So now's not the time. All right, just cut it out with that. Now's not the time. What do you think you're doing? Fairly assessing a candidate on a campaign trail. It's like you're thinking this is a democracy or something. It's really weird. Really weird. You're freaking a lot of people out. A lot of people are concerned. Plain Glass Window says he's not really for single payer. Obama team is attempting to hijack the debate and instead implement universal health care, or as we call it, the preservation of the private insurance industry. Well, universal health care would have to not involve the private insurance industry. And I know what you're saying, Plain Glass Windows. They're going to try to paint this picture that it can. And that's a lie. Trying to have a universal system, or at least any type of universal system, and involving the for-profit insurance companies, again, that is the equivalent of saying, hey, we have a termite problem in this house. Our solution is going to involve keeping some of the termites and making sure the termites play fair. Like this termite gets this little pile of wood, this other termite gets this one. They're going to play fair. That's what it's the equivalent of. It makes no logical sense. So that's why when people say strengthen the ACA, that's just words. That means nothing. You know how you strengthen the ACA? You jump to a single-payer system. You know how people say we need incrementalism to get there? We had it. You know what the incrementalist step was? The incrementalist step was the Affordable Care Act. And it would have been a more incrementalist step if it included a public option, and it didn't. And why didn't it? Because of Obama. Why did he take it out? Donors. So if candidates need progressive policies to win and they don't adopt them, it's their fault. Not the person pointing it out. It's their fault. If progressive policies are a kiss of death in their campaign, well then if somebody points that out, they're not hurting the candidate. If anything, they're helping them, right? I mean, if the policies I stand for is a recipe to lose for any given candidate, then me pointing out that they don't stand for those policies, that, if anything, is helping them. How is that not helping? And I'm not saying I'm intentionally trying to help or not help anyone. I'm just a comedian that tweets whatever the hell I feel like. But, I mean, you see how it's like double-speak logic. Moose Gal, there is a new narrative that Andrew Gillum from Florida is walking back on single payer. Jimmy Dore said something about it on his show. It's not true at all. He promotes Medicare for all. Well, Moose Gal, he needs to fix his website then. Because I happen to know the Jimmy Dore show clip you're referring to. I was on it. And, yeah, his website says otherwise. So he needs to update that. In fact, we can go there right now. Let's just make sure. Maybe he changed it as of literally yesterday. Because yesterday is when we recorded that clip. All right, I'm on Andrew Gillum's website. So let's go to healthcare. So here we go. As governor, Andrew will work to expand Medicaid and strengthen the Affordable Care Act. Andrew has proposed passing a Florida law protecting people with pre-existing conditions from being denied coverage, being charged more for their care due to a pre-existing condition, or women charged more than men. He was also the only candidate who opposed a law protecting women's access to no-cost contraceptive care under Obamacare. Now let's go back to the top where it does say, Andrew believes that Senator Sanders' Medicare for All plan will help lower costs and expand coverage to more Floridians. Gillum has promised to fight the new healthcare premium increases that are a result of President Trump, Rick Scott, and congressional Republicans trying to attack Obamacare. So, Muscal, I'm not trying to, say you're wrong or shame you or anything like that. I'm just pointing out, you see how there's a little bit of doublespeak here. He's not saying I support a single-payer system because that's the only way forward for healthcare in this country. He talks about strengthening the ACA, doing stuff for Medicaid, talking about how the ACA hasn't been given its full chance to succeed, which it has. It's Mitt Romney's plan. It only took us so far. It was better than the nothing we had. It was better than the AHCA. But the alternative to an anti-healthcare plan, which is what the AHCA is an actual healthcare plan, which is Medicare for all single payer. So yeah, there is a sentence in there saying he believes it could be a good thing. But then there's also about, 2.5 paragraphs talking about strengthening the ACA. And when it comes to actual policy position, he's talking more about strengthening the ACA. However, I thought in a media interview he was for Medicare for all. It's hard to keep up. Yeah, it's hard to keep up when people aren't strong on their convictions. Muscal, it's not your fault. It's not my fault. This isn't us. This isn't an our problem. This is a their problem. And for some reason, you're supposed to tie up and put a bow on what these candidates are actually about. Now, is there still plenty of time for Andrew Gillum to make his stances clear? Yes, there is. And I hope he makes the right choice. I'm listening. But you can't just have one sentence about Medicare for all and then go on and on about strengthening the ACA. And Edwin points out Beto O'Rourke does something similar. And this makes it easy to kind of make a pivot, and then when you're in a position of power to be like, we got to strengthen the ACA, let's focus on that right now. Let's put single payer over here. Some of you guys are saying that you don't think Ro Khanna supports Medicare for all. Well, just for fun, I just jumped over to his website, and honestly, this is kind of a subjective judgment. But you guys tell me if you see a difference. I support the creation of a single-payer healthcare system or Medicare for all. We must increase coverage, support small businesses, expand primary care, and lower premiums. Medicare for all is the next step toward addressing the high costs and inequalities with the current healthcare system. Does that sound a little more definitive than, I believe Medicare for all could work? Here's how we got to strengthen the ACA. Now, full disclaimer, Roe also above this does talk about how he's going to fight to protect the systems we already have. He said he's going to fight to protect Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. And he also said he will fight Republicans' efforts to diminish the ACA. And that is applying to the contemporary landscape. That basically means he won't support the AHCA. And he puts that in there because all of those things are currently under attack. The ACA is under attack. Social Security is under attack. Medicare, Medicaid is under attack. But when it comes to the next step, he's very clear. He supports a Medicare for all system. That's what his website says. So, do you see a difference between that and talking about just strengthening the ACA? Strengthening the ACA means nothing. That means nothing. Whenever you hear someone say strengthen the ACA, you should stop listening. Now, whenever someone says, I'm going to protect it in the meantime, those are two different things. Why? Because the Trump administration is trying to gut what little progress we made with the ACA. The ACA was a baby step in a better direction compared to what we had. Underline baby step 3 times. So, Ro Khanna is clear. The next step is Medicare for all. Andrew Gillum, according to his own website, not so clear. Beto O'Rourke, according to his own website, not so freaking clear. And for some reason, if we point this out, we're speaking out of line. Now's not the time for that. Wait until after the election. Daniel says there's definitely a difference. Legrand says at least what we have is better than nothing, I guess. Yeah, it is, but now we have to take it to the next step, which is single payer. Watson, why did Roro not name the program? He did. He said Medicare for all several times. That's the name of it. He said Medicare for all. Here, we can go back to the website one more time. Medicare for all. Medicare for all. How many times? Do you need him to name it 3 times? Would a 3rd time be the charm? He named it twice. We could have had single payer in California, Chris points out. Very true, we could have. And the Democrats shelved it. That was Anthony Rendon's work. Next step, when we're 50 steps back, it's a platitude. Saying single payer is the next step is not a platitude. That's the truth. How is that? A platitude is strengthening the ACA. That's a platitude because it means nothing. It literally means nothing. Saying single payer is the next step, that's just a fact. That's literally a fact. So, I'm not telling you who to support or who not to support. I mean, make your own decision. But, we're talking about when candidates are wishy-washy in their policy stances And out of the examples we just gave, I think one is clearly stronger than the other. If you're not convinced by either one, that's your choice. You know, if you're not convinced by Ro Khanna, if you're not convinced by Andrew Gillum, that's your choice. That's fine. But I see a difference between those two things I just showed. Some of you agree, some of you don't, and that's fine. Balthazar says, I pay $727 a month for worse care than I got prior to the ACA. Gillum needs to get up on the ACA. That's terrible. $727 a month. Jesus. Richest country in the world. Wow. Well, I am a little luckier than you in that regard, Balthazar. I do not pay anywhere close to that for my health care. I've actually gotten lower cost health insurance as a result of the ACA. But like I was saying yesterday, I never get to keep the same doctor 2 years in a row because I get shifted into a different plan constantly. So it's not a great system. I think it's better than what we had because we had nothing. We had a completely unregulated system, and I know a few, for instances, where where there was a big difference. David's plan is almost $900 a month. Jesus, that's insane. I don't know how people. It's insane. My girlfriend pays so much more than I do too, like so much more. All right, let's move on. We've spent too much time on this.
Get your news on with Ron. Don't you wanna know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. Get your news on with Ron. Don't you wanna know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. You can tweet me an article at Ron Placone. We'll go through it together and make it our own. Get your